You're in a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today, I have an amazing guest who's written an amazing book, The Adventures of Snuggs. And this book is amazing because it really connects parents and their children, helps us to really understand how to deal and process our emotions, but also how to deal with challenging situations and challenging emotions in our life. And we all go through it, going through childhood. Even as adults, we understand these challenges. And it's really good to be able to communicate with your children and be able to open the conversation and be able to talk about our emotions freely. Joining me live today is Ashley Donegan. Ashley, so great to have you on Live Your True Life Perspectives. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me. I'm excited to be here talking with you.
I am so excited. And I've read the book 3 or 4 times now. Love it. Love the
Oh,
illustrations. And tell me more. So, what was your muse to write this book?
thank you for the compliment. My daughter was my inspiration and is pretty much for anything that I do since I've had her. When she was little, I just was really moved by the books about her security blanket. She called it Snuggs. And just her innocence and sweetness at that age just really inspired me. Her childlike wonderment of which she saw the world inspired me to write this book. And so that's just kind of where I started.
I love it. And I love the illustrations. Tell me more. Did you do those illustrations yourself, or is there somebody else involved with the illustration work?
Yes, no, thank you. I did them, and I did them sort of to look like a child drew them. I'm not the best artist in the world, but that's not what this was about for me, trying to be the best. It was just trying to show my artistic creative side. And so, yeah, I did them.
I love them, and I love the cat. And when you get the book, so for all the listeners out there, when you get the book, you'll understand it's great. And I love the illustrations, and then I love the participation of the cat throughout the book as well. And let's talk about Snuggs, because I know growing up as a child, I had a blanket. I had a blanket, and I carried that blanket with me all the time. And it was like pastel colored. It was pink and yellow and light blue, and I carried that for a really long time. Knowing that your daughter had a safety blanket, did you also have one, or no growing up?
I did not. No, I don't know if well, I guess it was a thing because there was always like Charlie Brown had his little blue blankie. So I guess it's been a thing, but no, I did not have one. And since I've written this book, I've just been touched by so many people who have told me of their version of Snuggs, their security blanket, and their connection with my book, that they remember it, they still have it in their closet, or they took it on their honeymoon, and their husband was like, "What are you doing?" You know, so many people they still have that connected memory to that beloved object, and I love that they can connect with my story with that.
It's great, and it's something that I think is really important. And I remember, I had mine. I carried mine. I think the last day I carried mine was in I guess I was 6 or 7 years old. My mother made me put it back in the car, but I kept it at home. And when I first got my first dog, I would like wrap her up in it, so it became her like sleeping blanket.
Oh,
Yeah, and her name was Snuggles, which is kind of funny. So
ironic.
it was cute. So Snuggles was awesome. She was like could do no wrong. She was like a super dog, and so I would wrap her up in the blanket, and it was cute because you had one of the illustrations where your daughter had put Snuggs on top of the kitten, and that kind of reminded me of my childhood. Like I would just wrap Snuggles up. So that's
Aw.
awesome. So who gave Snuggs to your daughter in the first place? Was that a gift from you or another family member?
That was a gift from my sister, so my daughter's aunt, for her baby shower, when she was still in my womb. So she's had it ever since then.
That's cool. That's really cool. And so she still
Thank you.
has Snugs to the day, right?
She does. She doesn't carry it around as much, she kind of just sleeps with it. But yeah, no, she's not as attached to it as she was when she was a baby, obviously. But yeah, it is still around.
That's neat. That's neat. The one thing I think it's, the first takeaway that I take from the book is that I feel like as we see through, the different illustrations and the different situations, the stuff that we go through, like having trouble maybe going to sleep or, dealing with a child dealing with a scary thunderstorm, or you know, going to the doctor, or having to get a shot, and that's traumatic as a child, and I think it's like how do we process that, because that's just the beginning, right, of the life, but how do we process those challenges while we're growing up as a young child?
Yes, exactly. I mean, life is scary. We have a lot of challenges our way, and I mean, there's a lot of great things too, but it can be hard to know how to navigate those things and when they come up. And so if a little piece of fabric is going to help somebody, I don't see the harm in it, and being a healthier tool for children to gain independence and, security and just kind of self-awareness. I think it's a great tool. It has been for my daughter anyway.
And it's interesting too. I think that with this book, it will open up some of the conversations with parents and kids being able to talk about how they feel.
That is my hope. That is my hope, that we can all kind of, as parents, become more aware of ourself and our own emotions to be able to better help our children and deal with their emotions as they come up, to have, a better, more loving world going for future generations. That is my hope for sure.
And when we think about this too, I think that one of the things that you and I were talking about yesterday, that I thought was inspiring, is the fact of having that safe zone to express ourselves and being able to communicate, because I do think that basically creates the beginning of an amazing relationship as a parent and child, is if the child feels comfortable enough to share how they're feeling about XYZ.
Definitely. I mean, we all want to feel seen and heard in this world. And so that kind of starts obviously with your parents and your foundation of growing up. And so if we can learn, we can only do as good as the tools that we are given, but if we can learn better, we can do better for our kids. And so, yeah, I just think I'm all for it.
And I think also too, this book, even though it's designed, for reading with a child or the child reading themselves, I do think that it really connects with the human experience, because many people that are listening to this show right now are, we're going through challenges, we're dealing with different things. Some of us have become caregivers full time. Some of us are, having to work multiple jobs, dealing with, struggles and parenting and struggles as well. And so it's like being able to connect your with also your inner child. And I'm assuming that there was a lot of inner child work in your journey, coming up to not only writing this book or conceiving this book, but also publishing this book.
Very much so. And I didn't really realize it at the time, when I wrote it when she was 2, and then I did it for the 2 of us. I never thought I would share it. It just sort of came to me, and I put it away, in a drawer and everything. And then as time went on, I was working on myself and healing my inner child through watching my daughter grow and learn. And so that really brought up a lot of things for me that need to be healed, which I wasn't expecting. But as it did, um, yeah, then I decided to go ahead and publish and share it with the world, which brought on a whole new set of emotions, and then publish it. And that it has challenges. And I mean, it's all been great, but it's been a learning thing, about myself and bringing out my inner child. So, yeah, definitely very much.
And I think it's interesting when when I remember back in my childhood, and that was something that I really reconnected with. Probably in the last how many years, but it's about creativity, and I think that there's a certain level of creation and creativity that we have when we're a kid. And I think you're right. It's like the inner child work is so important, because I feel like we have to take our inner child and kind of stick it up on a bookshelf somewhere, and go into the adult life. But I don't think it's until we actually, kind of take that inner child and begin to look at the inner child and focus on our life, do we actually get to be able to be not only well rounded, but be able to find maybe more of our purpose?
Definitely, I would agree with that. As a child myself, I was very highly creative, as is my daughter. But I kind of put that as I got older, like you said, away on the shelf, and I focused on, boyfriends and other interests, and I kind of put that away to the side. But really, as I got older and became a mom, it was like that those are the things that brought me happiness and joy, and I stopped doing them. And so when I reconnected with that side of myself, the creative side, that's really when the healing began.
And I think it's interesting too for anybody out there that's listening, where maybe you were taking photographs when you were a kid, or drawing, or writing poetry, or whatever that looks like. It's hard because it can be really challenging. Maybe parents are like, oh, you're not going to make a career in that, or that's whatever that direction looks like. But I think that things have opened up so much. And I think that the ability to be able to, reconnect with that and then use some of those things that we were good at, that we really loved as a child, and put that into our current situation, our current purpose, our current career.
Definitely. I mean, if people are able to do that, I highly suggest it. I'm in a very fortunate, grateful spot in my life where I can do that. I haven't always been. But right now, and to watch my daughter experience it with me has been really, we've had that connection and it's been just great for us to bond. So I agree with that.
And it's interesting too, the emotions that you go through, because when you create something that's creative, you make something of your own. It's a very interesting dynamic because you are putting it out there. Tell me a little bit about, like, when you finally decided, okay, hey, I'm going to make this a reality. What happened then when you said, okay, I'm not just going to keep this book for myself? Because I remember you were saying there was a part of you that was like, I'm just going to keep this for my daughter and I, and that's it.
Yes. So I went through, like I said, a lot of emotions around that and had to really dig deep on self-doubt, self-criticism. Is anyone going to like this? All those things that we all experience, and had to just say, forget about that. I'm going to share it because I want to, because I enjoy it. And I want to show my daughter that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And so that's kind of where that all began.
Ashley, I totally agree with you. It's about whatever we put our mind to, and there is no limit. There's no sky's the limit concept. There is no limit, and I think you're right. By being able to put this out and feeling confident about it, or at least just putting it out there and kind of going through the emotions of it, it does speak not only to others but also to your daughter. About her also doing the same thing and being able to be creative and putting things out there.
Yes, well, that's my hope. Because like I said, with the self-doubt and everything, I mean, we're only limited by ourselves and our own thoughts. And so to try to push through those and work through them, I mean, how can I expect her to do the things that I can't even do for myself, is sort of what I realized. And so that's kind of driven me to go forward with sharing it with the world and just hope for the best and hope people can connect with it.
I like that, and you're right. Dealing with self doubt, and self doubt, I think, is one of the things that's part of the human condition. It's almost like we come into this, and I think we would have to have been raised in like this amazing, perfect, parent dynamic where there was no self doubt. And I think one of the things that we do is question our ability, and I think you're very right on about that, Ashley, and trying to overcome that. And I think you're doing a great job by showing your daughter as an example of how you can overcome that.
Well, thank you. I'm trying my best. But yeah, even in the most perfect family, which there is no such thing. I mean, we all just try to do our best as parents, but just society and everything else plays a part in it, and how we think we should be for others, and all those things. I'm a people pleaser from the start. So, working through those things and just living for myself and what I feel has been a challenge, but it's rewarding.
Very true. Well, when we return, we're talking more about self-doubt, overcoming the self-doubt, inner child healing, and more. So stay tuned. Don't change the channel. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. You know it. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on perspectives. Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, I've been talking to Ashley Donegan, who wrote and illustrated The Adventures of Snuggs. And right before the break, we were talking about overcoming self-doubt and people-pleasing. And many of us deal with this right now. Many of you listening are like, I am definitely overcoming people-pleasing gene. I'm working on overcoming codependency. But in the process, there's a lot of self-doubt and hoping that people like us or they get along with us or they love what we're doing. And so, Ashley, I find this very interesting because, putting yourself out there and creating a book and doing this stuff, it's very revealing. And I think a lot of people want to do it, but they're too scared to do it because they don't know how people are going to react.
Exactly. And I went through all of that and I still, still do. I'm still working on it. It's not like I've conquered it totally, but it's a very scary thing to put the deepest parts of yourself and your emotions out in any art form. And then also to share it with others and face judgment and criticism of it might not be the best, or, why'd you do it like this? Or you could have done it different, or, this sucks or whatever. So yeah, takes a lot of bravery and courage, I think, at least for me it did, to put this out there and keep going with it.
Well, I agree with you. And I think anybody that has, is empathetic, that has feelings for others, that cares about others, is also going to question, because I think many of us question our abilities. And I think also there's times where we, give credit to other people and minimize our abilities. And I think that that's something that a lot of us have to overcome. And I think with what you're doing, especially with creating this book, and you're also writing a second book with your daughter right now, right?
Yes, correct. It's almost going to be out by the end of the year, so it's done, but I'm super proud of it. And yeah, it's an amazing book.
That's awesome. And so I think that in this process, it's been cathartic for you. Not only is this something that's helped with your daughter to, as far as Snuggs is concerned, to have comfortability and to be able to manage emotions, it has also brought out in you this inner child work, which I think so many of us need to connect with in our own lives.
Yes, I mean, and it is hard and it's not for everybody, I would say that, but if you can do it, I think it's really well worth it for not only yourself, but to be a better parent for your children.
So let's talk a little bit about your home life. You were telling me, you live on a farm. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, so when I say it's a farm, it's not really like with crops or anything. It's more of a hobby farm. So we have a lot of acreage and animals. My daughter loves pets, so we have a lot of them.
And tell me more about the pets that y'all have.
Oh gosh. Okay. I'll list them off. We have chickens, ducks, guinea, pigs, goats, cats, dogs, fish, hermit crabs, and a frog.
Don't forget the hermit crabs. Don't forget those. So the direction of the second book involves the chickens to some degree, right? I know we don't want to talk too much about that and give it away, but is it directed toward the chickens? Tell me just a little bit.
It is. It's just a little spin-off on we name them all. And so yeah, it was just a silly little story we kind of came up with out in our barn one day, and we were like, this would be a really cute idea for a book. And so that's just kind of how it started.
That's pretty cool. I love animals. I have a dog, but I wish I lived on a farm and had animals like that. That's pretty cool. So she's been around animals her whole life then. So this is second nature to her.
Yeah, I mean, where we live now, we moved when she was 5, I think. And so before that, we just had my cat that's in the book, Jan. So yeah, she has had Jan her whole life, but then the rest of the animals came when she was about 5.
Jan, I love that. That's a great name.
Thank you. There's a story about her too, and it'll eventually be a book as well.
Awesome. And everybody that loves cats, I'm sure will want to read this book. So when we return, we're going to be talking more about inner child healing. We're also going to be talking about adversity and overcoming adversity. And, not everything's been perfect, and so many of us have gone through challenges, and Ashley's going to talk a little bit about that as well. And I think also we'll talk more about the book and, more about the direction of the next book, too. So stay tuned. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. You know it. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we've been talking to Ashley Donegan. Ashley was raised in a small town in Kansas and enjoys farm life and multiple animals and family that's close by her. Her animals are more than just pets, and they're actually part of the inspiring, fun stories that she is telling, not only herself, but also with her daughter. She's teamed up with her daughter, who is a real creative talent and ultimate inspiration to Ashley, and they both enjoy working together to create art, and they have ideas of moving forward with several more children's books. And it sounds amazing and it's awesome because we're all like, oh, farm life and all this, but all this didn't happen without some adversity. So, Ashley, we were talking the other day on the phone, and tell me a little bit more because all of us have dealt with our adversities, all of us have gone through pain and suffering, but I think that pain and suffering is what actually makes us stronger, but it also reveals to us how we need to connect with our inner child and then what the work we need to do to be at that level of what we want in our life.
Um, Definitely, I agree with that. I have had my fair share of struggles over the years, and I would say probably the first biggest one. I was in a really bad car accident in 2003, where I was hit head on by a drunk driver, and I almost died. So that was pretty bad, and took me quite a while to work through that physically and mentally and emotionally. Um, So yeah, there's that. I've been divorced, which is, a lot of people go through divorces, so that's no, you know, a lot of people do, but it is a struggle and a challenge. And I also, in my late 20s, was pregnant with twins, and I had a miscarriage, and that was very devastating to me, as I always wanted to be a mom. So that really probably brought me down to my lowest time. Um, so yeah, I would say those are a lot of my struggles, and I've tried really hard to work through and heal from some of those. Or not some of them, all of them, but yeah. So I agree with what you said. And then it's challenging to go through, but it's even more challenging to try to heal from. So you can, turn the dark into light, negative into positive.
Hmm.
So, and I've tried to do that.
Well, and that's a big thing because in order to go through it and process it and come out the other side healed, that takes a lot of work.
It does. It takes a tremendous amount of work, and not everybody is willing to do that, unfortunately. I mean, I it is hard, but for me, what really I struggled and struggled and struggled, and until I became a mom with my daughter, that's what really woke me up. Like, now I have to be an example for this child. Like, it's not about me anymore; it's about her. So that's what really kind of opened my eyes. Is when I say she saved me, really, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, and going through all that, you're right. It's either you can come out, you can either heal from it, or you can avoid the healing, or and sometimes people sweep it under the rug, or they get into addiction, or they avoid dealing with themselves, and those are really challenging. And to have multiple challenges like that in your life, so close together, even having one of those challenges in your life is overwhelming. What were some of the things when you look back at when you were processing this and going through these emotions? How did you stay, or how did you work to stay positive, or work to to stay on point? Was that kind of like an hourly thing, a daily thing? I mean, tell me more about how you managed through these processes.
Oh gosh. Well, for me, and I can only speak for myself. What everybody else does is their own healing journey, because we all have to do what we can do the best with what we have. So for me, it was years of, and I would say I went through kind of waves. I wasn't always perfect at it. It wasn't always good. You have to kind of take it day by day. But I got a lot of help. I went to counseling. I found a lot of healing modalities, a lot of healers, spiritual type things that really helped connect me back with my center of who I am inside, that I'm not these, struggles, that's just an experience, and that I can move past them. So, and I did a lot of reading, I did a lot of classes, I did a lot, webinars, podcasts, like anything you can think of, I've probably tried it and done it to help me heal and be better.
And that's powerful, and it takes a lot of modalities, and it takes a lot of things to heal. And I can understand too, after having your child, and y'all having that amazing connection, and then writing this story, and kind of it really is, the healing of your inner child, because I do believe that the stronger the soul is, oftentimes the more struggles that we have.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, because I feel like I'm a pretty old soul, and so I've been around a while, and it's not my first rodeo. So I would agree with that.
And I believe that, and I've had clients even say, why would this happen? Why would this happen? The loss of a parent, or at a very young age, or like an auto accident where you almost die, and these types of things. And I really do feel that when we come back into this lifetime, and I know that many of you that have been listening to my show for a while agree with this type of thought process, is that you go through processes and things that really reveal your not only the struggle, but it reveals your power. And it's sometimes hard, and that's always given me at least a little bit of peace in dealing with it, because otherwise it's like, whoa, wait, why am I experiencing this? And then you look at someone else's life, and we can't really categorize it, or say, oh, it's easier or harder, because we're not in those people's shoes. But sometimes it can look like somebody's life is a lot easier, and that can be
Hmm.
challenging, right? I mean, especially when you're going through these challenges.
Yes, definitely. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't, after my car accident, kind of feeling sorry for myself and saying like, why me? I'm a good person, why did I have to be there at that exact moment in time? But now, years and years later, I can look back and almost say that that was a gift given to me, because if that hadn't happened, so many other things in my life through struggle that I've realized wouldn't be here now, and I wouldn't be who I am. And so, everybody has challenges and struggles. I'm no different. It's just how we choose to handle them is, I think, what is important and what makes us stronger in the end.
Very true, and that's interesting. So after the accident and the loss of your unborn children, how much? So what was the time period after that you wrote basically the what would end up being the Adventures of Snuggs?
Oh gosh. So I wrote that when my daughter was 2. And I wrote that probably 2017, in
Okay.
between 2017 and 18 is when I actually originally wrote it. And like I said, I just put it on some paper and I did it with markers and read it for us, and then I put it in a drawer and forgot about it.
Wow. And then what was the moment when? And it might not have been exactly the moment that you open the drawer and pull the manuscript out and decide, but what was the moment, or what was the turning point when you were like, you know what, this isn't going to stay in a drawer anymore?
Yes. So it wasn't just one thing, but as I mentioned, I take a lot of classes and things. And one teacher said to find your true purpose and what makes you happy is to look back when you were a child, what you enjoyed just for fun. And when there wasn't any, time limits or, agendas or anything. You just did it for pure happiness and joy. And one of mine was writing and drawing and art and things like that. And then I decided, I love when my daughter was little to read to her in that connected time, and I thought maybe other people might like the story I have written, and I was like, "Well, I already have one. I've already created art and, written a book, but I'm afraid to share it." So, from taking that class, and then I just decided, "You know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna, like, pull the trigger and just see what happens."
Very cool. Very cool. And I understand, because anytime you're putting yourself out there, it is. I mean, I understand. I get it. I do it every day, and it's you're putting yourself out there, like, okay, here we go. I mean, but you do the processing of it, and then I do think that as you begin to put more of your work out there, the easier it is to continue to go down that pathway.
Yes, I'm a very shy, introverted person. I'm private, so like even doing this podcast is really like a stretch for me, and I've been trying to do more and more. But I think it's amazing, like how many followers you have, and as much as you put yourself out there over the years, I think that's awesome. So, yeah, but it isn't easy.
It's not. It's not. And it's interesting. So y'all are writing the second book, which is great. And so your daughter is, so she's getting like super, being able to put her super creative ideas out there, and I bet that's really interesting to watch too, as she begins to kind of blossom as this creative person.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of her. She is far I mean, I'm a pretty creative person, but she is far beyond me for years, and she has been creating stuff. I have it all over my house. I keep everything she makes because I just think it's amazing, but of course, I'm her mom, so I'm biased, but yes, this book, she illustrated the whole thing, and, then we, co-created the story or co-wrote the story together, and then kinda put it all together, and then we have several more stories listed that are gonna be in the future of just ideas and stuff that we have jotted down. So, yeah, she's highly creative, and I'm super proud of her.
That's amazing, and and most of this goes right back to you, right? Because if you hadn't have done this and put it out there, maybe the dialogue between you two would be very different.
Possibly. I mean, it's hard to tell, but yeah, like I said, when I was watching her grow and trying to teach her to express her emotions and her feelings and her doubts and and her fears, I have the same doubts and fears, and so how can I expect her to do those if I can't do them? So we were kind of both learning and growing as she has been, I guess I could say. So yeah, it's been an interesting process, but it's brought us together, and I'm just so excited for it.
And one of the things that I find that's awesome that you talked about yesterday was, you really enjoyed just reading to your daughter, and how, just this book alone and the connection will bring other parents and children together, just in a moment where they can have a moment of peace and be able to, spend time together. I think is relatively why you wrote this book and published it.
Definitely. I started reading to my daughter when she was 3 months old, when I would be feeding her at night, rocking her, even though she couldn't obviously read or, speak. But I just felt it was very important. And I read her 3 books every night until now she can read chapter books and, graphic novels. And she's an excellent reader. But that time reading other people's stories and connecting with it, like, I would laugh and some of them I would cry, and I love those books and sharing that time with her, and it was just her and I together alone, and I just think that quality connected time is so important as a parent.
It's very important, and then to have quality content too as well, that serves a even higher purpose.
Yes, definitely, especially in today's world that we live in with so many crazy things going on and technology and social media and video games and things that kids are exposed to. I think it's highly important to have quality content to share with your children.
I completely agree with you. And having that time and having that moment and being able to also help positively, healthy shape your child. And I think that's something too that really, kind of comes to pass when you're talking about the Adventures of Snuggs, because it's something that can create a basis of a healthy childhood.
Thank you. Yes, that is my hope that people will get that out of it and connect to the story that way.
And you've said that a lot of people have come to you about having their own security blankets. That's awesome. So you had lots of adults tell you about their security blankets.
Oh, immediately. I've had them like show me on Zoom calls. They go and get it. I've had them tell me, "Oh yeah, I still have it in my closet," or "My husband had it and I made him get rid of it," or, I've heard all kinds of stories. And so I love hearing about that. It really touches my heart, and it's made it all worth it for me that not only can kids relate, because they'll tell me too, "Oh, I have my boogie bear," or whatever they call it, my whatever name they always give it a name, and they always keep it. They can't get rid of it. And so I just love that they can connect with that on an emotional level.
That's cool. That's cool, and it brings out, and I think that's a big thing. Is like it's great for the kids, in the book, and but it's also great for the adults, especially when they had that situation and that experience to be able to kind of relive that a little bit, and it's a little bit about the inner child.
Yes, I totally agree, and I just love that. I wasn't expecting that when I, wrote it and put it out there, but it's been a great, it really touches my heart. So,
It touches mine too, and I think that's pretty amazing. And having that, and I think the security blanket too, even if you didn't have like an actual blankie, I think it's just having that comfortability, that you're not alone, right? That you're not alone, you're not in this by yourself.
yes, and since I've put this book out and everything, I've done a lot of research about it, and some people are for them and some people are against them. But, from the research that I've done, it gives children security and independence, like going to school for the first time, away from mom for the first time, going to grandma's house for the first time overnight. It can make them feel secure and safe to have just a little something with them, whether it's a bear or a pillow or a blankie. So I'm a big believer in it.
I am too, and I think it's always good to have security, and it's always good to feel secure, and I think it's not a bad thing. It's like we don't have to go on this alone. It's like getting lost and asking for directions. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you somebody that wants to get there faster without continuing to get lost.
Exactly. And we all, it's, as I said, it's a tough world out there and there's a lot of challenges that come our way. So if a little blankie or stuffed animal can help you get through, and then why not?
I agree with you. When we return, Ashley and I are going to be talking more. She's going to also give us some of her nuggets of golden wisdom that we can also take forth with us because it takes a village. And it's really important when we go through this process and acknowledge the fact of our inner child and help our family and help the kiddos and really, get to a point where we are being able to talk openly and we are being able to express our emotions in a positive way. And so I feel like this has been very helpful. So we'll be right back in just a few moments. Please don't change the channel. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we've been talking with Ashley Donegan, and now it's time. She's the creator of Adventures of Snuggs and more books to come. Now it's time to discuss Ashley's golden wisdom, knowledge, nuggets of wisdom that she brings to the table because it takes a village for us to live our life and to be successful. And so, Ashley, please let us know some of the thoughts that you're having, your deep thoughts to share with us today.
Yeah. So I would just say for me, for parents to really work on yourself and expressing and feeling your own emotions so that way you can be a better parent to show your children how to express and feel their emotions and have a safe space for them to do that. We all want to feel seen and heard. And so that's what I would say is a big thing, and having a connected time with your child where they feel safe to do that. Another one I would say is to be flexible, but also have structure and routine for children because that makes them feel safe and secure. But flexibility because sometimes things come up and challenges, and we have to sort of learn how to navigate them. And, life isn't easy. So we just have to remain flexible and go with the flow, but also give them the structure that they need. Um, so, yeah, I would say those things.
I love that flexibility. Structure and routine is great, and structure and routine does help create security. It prevents anxiety and stress. But you're right, being able to be flexible when necessary is definitely important. How do you know kind of when to be more flexible, or how do you kind of figure that out?
Oh gosh. I mean, for me, just kind of as you go, because one of my favorite sayings, or one that I've come to love, is that the only thing constant in life is change. And when you can accept that, you're not gonna be able to control everything and stuff happens. And as it comes up, you just have to, we don't know everything. We don't have a handbook as parents. We just have to go with the flow, and it can't always be a certain way. And so if you can do that, it can help kind of calm anxieties down a little bit and just go with it. That's life.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. And you're right. Change is a constant, and it's something that we have to deal with. Sometimes overwhelming, but definitely a constant.
Yes.
So where can we find you on social media as well as where can we buy the book?
Yes. So I have my website, onemamasheart.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can buy the book through my website, and also the paperback version is on Amazon. The one coming up hopefully will be out by the end of this year. The second book that my daughter co-wrote and illustrated, so that's coming soon.
Perfect. Awesome. And that's great. And if you're listening to the radio, check that out. And if you're listening later on the podcast, we'll have this in the description as well. So you can go on and click on that in the description and go directly to the website and what have you. I have enjoyed so much, talking with you today, Ashley. It's just a wealth of knowledge and just a really fun and amazing kind of connection, not only for a child but also for that inner child that us adults are trying to to connect with again. I think that's so powerful.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking with you too, Ashley.
It's amazing, and I enjoy it. I'm looking forward to the next book as well. Can't wait to see that. I know that's going to be awesome with you and your daughter writing that together, and then I'm sure that you have lots of things on the horizon that you're talking about doing as well.
Yes, we have many more books to come, and so I'm just super excited to find time to work on those with my daughter. We're very busy with school and whatnot work, but we're going to find time and get those out shortly.
Awesome. Ashley, thank you so much for coming on the show. Wonderful. And I'm going to share this with everybody, and I appreciate it. And for everybody that's listening, it is about connecting with your children. It is about having those conversations. It's about, talking about emotions, processing, helping, going through those challenging times. It's about also connecting with our inner child. And as we can see, Ashley's doing that herself right now as she's going through the process of putting this stuff out there, being creative, and being public about it. And I think everybody has something within them that they can do that as well. To check out and to listen to past shows, you can listen anywhere on Apple podcast, to Spreaker, to Spotify. Also, don't forget to check out the YouTube channel. New content every week on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, Life Coach Ashley Burgess, and subscribe to the channel when you get a chance. In the meantime, connect with your inner child. Find a way to communicate your emotions. Be able to open your arms to your own personal emotions, and also connect with your family. It's very powerful, and it takes a village. Reach out to your family and friends. Reconnect with people. It's time. So I hope that you've enjoyed the show. Please share with your family and friends. And if you haven't already, please check out the Apple Podcast and also subscribe there so you know when the latest show is airing. And so we appreciate it. And if you're listening to the radio, please stay tuned next week and listen to the next show. We appreciate our listenership and we appreciate your dedication. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, go to ashleyburgess.com. Just click on that contact page and send me a message, and I'll get back to you ASAP. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. Well, you know it. I'll be back this time in 3 shakes.